A god lies inside a chest made to his exact measure. His brother closes the lid. The court watches in silence as the chest is sealed and cast into the Nile. This is the story of Osiris, a king betrayed by his own family, a body broken apart, and a son who must fight to restore a world thrown out of balance. But in Egypt, no myth begins with only one beginning. In one ancient tradition, before sky, earth, and living creatures, there was Nun, the limitless primeval water. From it rose the first mound of land, the benben. In other versions, the newborn sun emerged from a lotus, an egg, or the first waters themselves. These were not contradictions to the Egyptians. They were different ways of imagining the same impossible moment, order rising from the undivided deep.
At Heliopolis, the creator was Atum, closely linked with Ra, the sun god. From him came Shu, the air, and Tefnut, moisture. They in turn became the parents of Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. Geb and Nut were inseparable. Their embrace held the universe closed until Shu raised Nut above the earth and made space for the world between them. Yet the two still had children. In a famous calendar myth, Ra forbade Nut to give birth on any of the 360 days of the year. Thoth won 5 additional days from the moon, and on those days, Nut gave birth to Osiris, Isis, Seth, Nephthys, and Horus the Elder. Osiris inherited more than a throne. He represented fertility, rightful rule, and the return of life after the Nile's flood. Later tradition describes him as the first king of Egypt, one who taught people to cultivate the land and live under laws. Beside him stood Isis, his sister, his wife, and one of the most formidable magicians in Egyptian religion. Seth was also their brother. He was not simply an Egyptian devil. He was a powerful god of the desert, storms, and untamed places beyond the cultivated valley. But in the myth of Osiris, Seth becomes the force that shatters rightful order. In the most famous account, Seth invites the gods to a feast. There, he presents a magnificent chest and promises it to whoever fits inside. One guest after another tries. None of them fit. Then Osiris lies down. The chest closes around him perfectly. Seth's companions fasten the lid, they seal it with lead, and throw it into the Nile. In this version, the chest drifts out to sea, carrying the murdered king far from Egypt. Other traditions emphasize what happens next. Seth finds Osiris's body, cuts it into pieces, and scatters it across the land. The details differ from one telling to another, but the meaning is constant. The king's body and the order it represented have been violently divided. Isis refuses to accept that ending. She searches for Osiris through marsh and desert. Nephthys joins her. Together, in the form of mourning kites, they protect the body and restore breath to it through ritual and magic. Anubis, the god closely associated with embalming and funerary rites, becomes part of this sacred work in later tradition. Osiris's body is wrapped and preserved. This is why Egyptians could see mummification not as a denial of death, but as an act of care, the body made ready for renewal. Isis restores Osiris long enough to conceive a child. That child is Horus. Osiris does not simply return to his old throne. He becomes king of the dead, ruler of the realm beyond death. Horus, meanwhile, becomes the living heir, a falcon god raised in secrecy while Seth holds power. When Horus comes of age, the conflict moves before a tribunal of gods. Who should rule Egypt? Seth, the stronger and more experienced god, or Horus, the son of Osiris and the rightful heir? The ancient tale known as the Contendings of Horus and Seth turns that question into a long, strange, and often brutal contest. In it, the dispute lasts 80 years. Seth insists that strength should decide the throne. He challenges Horus to transform into a hippopotamus and remain beneath the water for 3 months. Isis fears that her son will be killed and strikes at Seth with a harpoon. But when she hears her brother beg for mercy, she cannot complete the blow.
Horus sees this as betrayal. In rage, he attacks Isis and cuts off her head. The gods are horrified. In the tale, her head is replaced with that of a cow before she is restored. It is not a gentle story. It is a myth about inheritance, violence, and the cost of divided loyalties. In related traditions, Seth damages or tears out Horus's eye. The eye is healed and becomes the wedjat, the Eye of Horus, a sign of wholeness, healing, and protection. The wound is no longer only a wound. It becomes a promise that what has been broken may be made complete again.
Seth tries another way to defeat his nephew. He attempts to humiliate Horus sexually, believing this will disqualify him from kingship. Horus and Isis turn the scheme back against him. When the divine court demands proof, Seth's own claim exposes him instead. The tale is deliberately shocking, but its purpose is clear. Seth's attempt to overturn legitimacy fails before the gods. At last, the tribunal rules for Horus. The living king is identified with Horus, the dead king with Osiris. Every succession can therefore be imagined as the restoration of a cosmic pattern. The son takes up the order his father can no longer hold.
Yet Seth is not erased from the universe. In solar texts, Ra crosses the underworld every night in his barque. The journey unfolds through 12 hours of darkness. It is not merely a voyage through the land of the dead. It is the daily struggle that makes sunrise possible. Waiting in the darkness is Apep, the immense serpent of chaos. Apep seeks to halt the sun, overturn the created order, and return the world to the undivided waters of Nun. Ra's defenders resist him. In several traditions, Seth stands at the prow of the solar barque, driving back Apep with his spear. Other protective figures, including forms of the Eye of Ra, also appear in the struggle. The same god who threatens rightful kingship can, in another sacred context, defend the sun itself. That complexity matters. Egyptian religion did not divide the universe into a simple battle between a good god and an evil god. Seth could be dangerous, necessary, feared, and powerful at the same time.
Every morning, the sun rises because order has survived the night. That was the force of the Osiris myth. It linked kingship to justice, death to renewal, and ritual to the repair of a damaged world. The ancient temple cults are silent now, but the stories remain, written on papyri, carved on temple walls, and carried forward by the questions they still ask.
What happens when a rightful order is broken? Who has the right to restore it? And what must the world fight again and again to see the sun return?
If I get it, you get it.
If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next ones. And let me know in the comments what you think. It helps me figure out what to cover next.